And Phil, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, hey Gemma, pretty crazy to think this is the last game of the season. This will be the last pre-match press conference we're doing. Yeah, first of all, how's everyone held up? Obviously a quick turnaround from Tuesday.
Yeah, for the most part, okay. The squad pretty much self-selects itself. So Zoe's out. She picked up that knee injury, and it's too much of a risk, like, for us to play her. It's not. She has an MRI today. It's not looking like it's anything too serious, but it is like a low-grade MCL strain in her knee, which normally puts somebody out for kind of 2 to 3 weeks. So yeah, not gonna risk that one. So she's out, which is unfortunate. And Tilly is out because she picked up her 4th yellow in the game against Western Sydney. So that means she sits out a suspension for the last game. I think it's because it's a 2-day turnaround and she felt like she wasn't going to bounce back. So maybe she just picked up the yellow because her knees, the veteran of the team, maybe her knees are getting sore and she probably felt like she wasn't going to back up. But no, so that does force our hand a little bit because that, I guess the 4 that won't be in the squad is Annabelle, Grace Wiz, Zoe and Tilly, who are all unavailable. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Everyone else is held up pretty well, but tight turnaround. So not going to be as fresh as they would like, but I think last game. So everyone's kind of knows that, they can just kind of empty the tank.
Yeah, so what are your options with fullback? Because I was going to say, I guess Saskia would probably play on the right, but then if you're missing a left back too, do you look at maybe Charlotte at left back, Saskia right back, or what are you kind of thinking there?
Yeah, still working through it at the moment. Like, there's a few options. We normally would train in the morning, but because of the weather here, we're actually training this afternoon. So we're going to try kind of a few things out there. But yeah, we could have Charlotte in at left back as one option. We're even looking at because Max plays as a fullback a lot as well. So we don't really want to move her out as centre back, but then Mon has played a lot as a centre back. So you could have a back 3 of having Mon in and Mac out, which would provide a strong back line. We could also have Charlotte in there. We could also, even Kelly's played there before, not where she enjoys to play, but she does a good job. So yeah, we have options. It's not ideal that it's 2 fullbacks, but we definitely have options. So we're going to work through a little bit of them this afternoon just to see kind of what works best.
Yeah, and how do you rate your chances of getting off the bottom of the table? I guess the goal difference will be irrelevant if you can get a better result than Wanderers. You're playing a team that has to win to keep their finals hopes alive. They're playing a team that has to win to keep their hopes alive of finishing top. So do you think you're in a position where you can avoid the spin?
Yeah, I think everything's on the table, really. I think it's a good matchup. Obviously, they've got a lot to play for. But I mean, yeah, our girls are also really hungry to try and get off the bottom of the table. The turnaround's not ideal, but they played on Monday, so there's only an extra day in it, really. So I think we've got a good chance, and I think just a result. I think pushing for like a draw or a win would be good. To kind of give us that hope of getting off. You don't really want to leave it down to goal difference or be more defensive minded. I think that's setting yourself up to fail. So we're definitely kind of pushing to throw everything we've got at them. And the girls are really, really positive in the fact that our last performance against them probably should have been our game, but we gave it to them at the end. So I think they want to kind of rectify that as well. But Perth are definitely kind of building momentum and on quite a bit of a high at the moment. So it'll be a tough game. It'll ideally, I would have liked a week in between, it'll be tough. But last game, girls know they're going home. I think everyone's like final game, there's that kind of emotion behind it as well. Whereas Perth know that they might have more games to come. Whereas, we saw how we kind of played at the first game when there was that big emotion of like that history. And now this is kind of like last game, end of the season, end of the first season ever. So hopefully that'll kind of spear them on and build that kind of finding that second wind, I guess.
Yeah, just a final one. I guess a lot of people wouldn't have picked you to get 2 wins in a draw. But what would it do to avoid finishing last in season 1? I think people say you've already exceeded expectations. So yeah, what's the motivation for you guys to make sure that you finish above last?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I think that's the kind of, you can see like nobody expected us to probably pick up any points. So I think we've already kind of gone above and beyond. And I think not just the points as well. Like for us, I get that that's how most people and most teams are judged, and I completely understand that. But I even think like our performances have exceeded expectation in terms of how we've been able to compete for the most part. Some games, obviously, we were quite far off it, but a lot of games we've been really, really in it and played some good football. So yeah, I think we've definitely kind of exceeded expectations in that fact. But for the girls, like this last, I guess, since before the Canberra game, like we kind of had the envision of like, people are just expecting us or wanting us to get this one win, whereas we always wanted more. And now we're to the point where the goal was like, can we get enough points to get off the bottom of the table? And some other results that we can't control haven't necessarily gone in our favour. Otherwise, we could have potentially got off the bottom of the table already. But Brisbane on a late run, Canberra on a late run, Western Sydney picking up some results. So that hasn't gone in our favour, but then it's back in our control for this game. So I think, that's kind of the driving force, is if we get this result and we get off the bottom of the table, like I think we'd consider, like we'd all walk away, players, staff, everyone, extremely happy.
Cool. All the best.
Thanks, mate.
Hey Gemma, 3 months today since that first match. What's the biggest thing you've learned in that time?
Oh God, hard question, mate. Difficult one. Probably like for me personally, I think this whole experience has been quite challenging from the point of view of kind of starting from scratch. And I think being over here, it's also helped me to learn the priorities a little bit in terms of football versus, I guess, people and kind of their mentality and welfare and things like that. And I think that, to be honest, has been one of the reasons why the girls have competed so well, is because of, I guess, the culture we've created over here, which is like more than just the X's and O's and the wins and the losses. I think that's probably been one of the biggest learnings for me on reflection. I think if we just got kind of bogged down in first professional league, like just focused on kind of all the football and trying to get as many results as we can, I don't know how many players we'd have left, to be honest, just based on the demographic of the players we're working with. But I think what's happened, like in response to that, is this actually ended up being a really like tight-knit group that has this like huge belief in themselves. Like they really back themselves and believe in kind of what we've created. They believe in like how we want to play and how we want to represent ourselves on the field. And I think that's gone way further than however many oppositions we can scout and spend however many hours kind of tactically figuring out the plan. I feel like being kind of, I guess, more people focused and player focused has really helped us to kind of create that environment where the girls have really kind of gone to bat for everyone and pushed through no matter what the scenario is. Off the top of my head, that's the one I'd go to. Sorry.
That's cool. Obviously you got the game tomorrow night, but just in terms of what's next, a lot of these players, like you say, sort of have an under 20 World Cup campaign to prepare for. But I'm sort of guessing there's probably going to be, a bit of a break in there as well. What can you say about sort of what comes after Friday night?
After Friday night, I imagine will come a couple of days where the girls will just enjoy themselves and let the reins off a little bit, because we've definitely been, I guess, a little bit more strict through COVID and everything else. So yeah, they'll have a little bit of freedom and enjoy themselves, and they deserve it. And then after that, once we get home and once the girls kind of leave back to their environments in Australia as well, there'll definitely be like a good break, like ideally kind of aiming for a month, if not more. I think it's really important for a lot of these players. Like they need some time off, they need some time with families, they need times for bodies to rest and everything else before we start to kind of get into some 20s prep, which will happen kind of early-ish in April. And then also going back into kind of what the off-season program looks like for the Phoenix and that partnership with New Zealand Football, where that'll kind of be a program that's based in Auckland. And obviously we'll start to look at what the team looks like for next year as well. And I know there's stuff going on in the background already with working on contracts and staff and everything else to start to kind of put that stuff in motion to make sure that we can start to kind of secure these players early, the ones that we want to kind of really develop, and we've put in so much work that we really want to push this team forwards. So that's really important as well, to give them some security as well. Whereas I think you can finish a season and you can go into some really, you kind of go home, you have a break, and then you're kind of left in this transition period of not knowing what's next. So we want to kind of alleviate some of that as soon as we can.
Does that sort of include your own sort of contract in your own future? I think a few weeks ago, you're hoping, I think even David Dome was hoping it would all be sorted before the end of the season, and unless it happens in the next 24 hours, we haven't quite got there. But not quite got there, but it's definitely in progress. All of it takes a little bit longer with the multiple hoops that have to be jumped through instead of just the one organization that it normally is. So it's kind of this this fluid kind of process that we're all getting used to, but it definitely takes a little bit more time because it has to go through multiple people. But we are in conversations to get that secured pretty soon. No, cool. The last thing I just want to ask about was not to single out one player, but Grace Jalla is a player you've sort of worked with a bit. I mean, I think back to when you won the National League with Auckland, she was fantastic at times in that season. She's a player who's been through a bit in terms of, not perhaps having the pathway there, having injuries. Have we seen her start to sort of hit her straps? And, obviously there's a lot of those players who are in the under 20 frame, but she's not one of them. She's well past that, For her, Lily, are there any sort of plans in place for getting those players, an environment to carry on with? Yeah,
so she's somebody I've worked with a lot, and like this season's been challenging for her as well. Like she came in off the back, she was just playing with Suburbs at the time. She'd come back from injury, so wasn't necessarily like at her best. And to be honest, we've been pushing her the whole season, constantly challenging her. She hasn't had it easy. She's considered a veteran, but like she's barely 22, 23, and it's kind of really, really pushing. But I think we're seeing like her grow in confidence as kind of she starts to trust herself a little bit more and takes her chances. But I definitely think we're seeing her hit her stride, but I 100% believe there's so much more that we haven't seen from Grace. I don't think anyone's really seen it. I think things just haven't fallen in place consecutively for her to really build the momentum of what she can really achieve. So it's exciting to see her get on that run. And now for us, it is exactly what you said, like, how do we keep that going? So we're working in the background, to be honest, to try and get her overseas in an environment that where the kind of seasons line up quite nicely. So we're in conversations. There's nothing like secure on the table yet, but there's kind of, I guess, definitely bites of interest because she is definitely like, you look at her athleticism, you look at her on paper, like she's definitely somebody that people want to take a chance on. We're just trying to find the right environment that's really going to kind of push her on and invest in her. That's a struggle. You look at overseas environments, and you could kind of send her on her way, but she could be sat on a bench and she could be not looked after and not developed. So it's just trying to find the right mix of challenge and somebody that's going to invest in her. So yeah, we're working on that. We're working on that for a few people that are out of that 20s age range. Yeah, it might not happen for everyone, but we're hoping to get a couple across.
Cool, thank you.
No worries, mate. Thanks.
Hey, Gemma. Just one from me, and this will probably overlap a bit with Andrew's question about what's the biggest thing that you've learned. But this is a team that's overcome or had to deal with more adversity than any other team in the A-League. So what do you think is the thing that you're most proud of this group of girls?
It's hard. Like, to be honest, probably just the resilience for a team that's quite young. Like, when I think, even back to when I was playing, if I had to face any of the stuff that they faced, I think I would really struggle day to day to be able to perform the way they do. And it's been tough, and they've definitely gone through ups and downs, probably every single player. But the fact that, comes to game time or whatever it is, and they just turn up and they're the absolute professionals, even at the age of 17, 18, I think that stuff kind of, I guess, astounds me and shows me, I guess, their high performance behaviors that they have, which I think you can have talent, but if you don't have those high performance behaviors or that mentality to kind of work hard, have the resilience, have that mental toughness, the talent sometimes doesn't necessarily get to where it needs to. Whereas these girls definitely have that kind of resilience and the high performance behaviors that is really going to hopefully kind of nurture that talent to push on. But yeah, they've probably gone above and beyond what I expected, to be honest. So hard to pinpoint one thing, but I definitely think for this, even the staff and everyone here, it's been tough. So then when you put yourself in their shoes and you're okay, and they're there's 18-year-olds doing that, it's hard to understand. And so I think definitely that'd be the one thing is, their resilience and commitment to what they've signed up to.
Thank you so much. Good luck.
Cheers. Thanks, mate.
Gemma, can I just confirm you do want to stay on in the role?
I would like to. I'm happy to say that. I think it's been it's been a really big learning season for me, but I also think the nature and how we did it, there was a lot of challenges and a lot of things that you didn't necessarily have control of. I think it would be nice to get an experience to actually have a preparation and be able to properly prepare for next season. And I also think I don't know, part of me is we've kind of built something, and I don't know if I'm quite ready to just pass that on to somebody else yet. With the group of players that we've got, especially because a lot of these players I'll still be working with through 20s and things. So I think it's quite good momentum to have across both parties. It means that we're still working with those players a lot. And I feel we've only just scratched the surface with what some of these players can do. And if we're able to work with them for this entire year before the next season starts, I feel already we've seen so much growth. I'm just kind of excited to see how far they can push. So I think I would like to, but I think there's a lot of things that also need to fall into place, and discussions that need to be had for us to all kind of sign up again, I guess. That'll be the player's point of view as well, to be honest.
Yeah, and how have you found the experience of coaching a club team as opposed to a national team, and the opportunity to coach week in, week out? Obviously you've had that in kind of the National League and stuff before, but how have you found that versus kind of under 20s?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I think we always wanted to avoid it turning into a 4-month camp, which we definitely haven't avoided. It's exactly what it's turned into because of the environment and how we're all kind of in one space. So it has been tough, but I think there's been lots of learnings from games week in, week out. And I think, you have so much preparation for an international team to play 3 teams at a pinnacle event. So you kind of uncover every single rock you can about this one team, and you're so prepared. You don't necessarily have that in these games. It's almost like, it's quite nice because it like challenges your coaching. You have to decide what to prioritize. You're not going to uncover everything between game 1 and game 2, and however else it may seem. And it was like letting go of that. That come game 1, we were going to be 100% ready. It was like, that was never going to happen. But I think we've seen trust in the process. We've seen that over time, the girls are starting to kind of come right. And I think if we look at the back half of the season, they've definitely developed, they've definitely improved. So yeah, it's been different. It's been challenging, but it's also been really enjoyable from the point of view of like, more games, more like a lot more games, a lot more time with the players, not just camps every holidays. It's been really I've really enjoyed getting to kind of have that time with the players to really help develop them.
Awesome. All the best.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks a lot, Gemma. Much appreciated.
No worries. Speak to you soon, guys.